Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whenever the fuck you're watching this episode. Another episode of the Blitz brought to you by Backyard Sports. My name is Raul Herrera. I got Gary Freeze with me. We got five. We got a chance. Well said, dude.
Yeah,
And
that's not an original for me. That was I forget. I think it was I forget who it was. I think it might have been Zacchaeus that said it coming off the field, but somebody on the roster said it, and I am co-opting
said 85's down there somewhere.
it. Yeah.
Dude, Chicago cornerbacks taking major heat, one in particular.
Yeah.
You know, that was your guy.
So everybody is seeing that, and it's terrible, right? But I don't want everybody to forget about the fact that he was the dude, one, that got cooked all game by Terry McLaurin, which in his defense, a lot of corners get cooked by Terry McLaurin all the
Right.
time. But he also got an unsportsmanlike conduct at a pretty crucial moment in the game, too, that led to, I believe, one of the fucking field goals that we settled for. So he had a pretty like shitty game as a professional, and to be doing that shit, like you don't fucking celebrate till there's zeros on the board, man. Like I understand that you were feeling yourself, feeling real good. You felt like you were about to steal a game that you've been fucking utterly dominated, and Washington kept shooting themselves in the foot. But you've got to be a pro in that situation. And I know that there has been some conversation about him in he was supposed to be the guy boxing Noah Brown out. If that's true, it's true. If not, like it doesn't, in my opinion, it doesn't, like you can't do that at all, right? Like that's terrible. But if you're going to compound it with the fact that you were supposed to be boxing out Noah Brown, well, and he's the guy that tipped it to Noah Brown.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Regardless of whatever his assignment was,
fucked
he's
up
still ultimately the guy who put hands on the ball and deflected it to the man catching it in the end zone.
Mhm.
So, it's kind of instant karma. And, as a professional, you've got to know in that moment to see it through, right?
Yeah,
Man, instant karma.
Yeah.
And, you did mention that, a lot of guys do get cooked by Terry McLaurin, but not a lot of guys get cooked by Terry McLaurin and then win the game, or at least think they're going to celebrate early and then get their shit pushed in the last minute Hail Mary from the 30, dude. From the 30.
Yeah. It's the I believe it's
That was a
the
nuke.
fifth most air yards on a touchdown in the last like fucking 50
What was
years.
the total air yards? Do you remember?
62 yards in the air. And like everyone talks about the ribs and yada yada. Nobody's really said yet what the ribs thing is. I think he strained some rib cartilage potentially because of the way. A lot of people were talking about the scramble where he kind of fell down, but like he got hurt on the very first play of the game, and he got hit in a way that like he got compressed from behind, and that can either bruise ribs or sometimes it'll kind of sprain the cartilage or like separate some of that cartilage, and that's super fucking painful. So for him to even get it there, but like there's so much about that play. There's so much about his calm demeanor under pressure leading up to that, like the two completions he had to move the ball down the field. There's
He's a natural.
And it was Kyle Brandt said it on Good Morning Football. Like there are tiers of players. There's good, there's great, and then there's special. And like this dude is special. He's fucking special.
He is. He really is. And, obviously we'll see how year 2 goes, which is always kind of the telltale, but like this is one that, I feel confident kind of betting the farm in. I haven't really fully been invested in, especially, Caleb Williams, not a chance, but there's quite a few quarterbacks that have come out recently that I feel like there was a lot of hype around that. Just, I feel like you and I both were kind of in lockstep that, they're not really going to be worth their weight. Bo Nix was one that we kind of waffled about even more recently. And Jaden Daniels, stock has done nothing but increase consistently. And with that consistency has come, This dude is an all-around threat. He's the best of so many different worlds. It really is impressive.
Yeah.
So jumping into week 8, we start out on an L. So Rams taking the win at home. So Sam Darnold, right? There's always this hype train around Sam Darnold if he does great, and then there's the cut his head off whenever he doesn't do great. So how about we keep the level playing field with Sam Darnold? And Senior, good to see you. How about we keep the level playing field here, Gary, and give me the nitty gritty on what happened with Minnesota.
Look, Sam played well. I mean, he came out gangbusters in the first half. I mean, we had 4 touchdowns on the first 4 drives of this game, and then things settled in, and it just started to feel like the Rams got back 2 guys that made them feel much more confident. They've got a good running game with Kyren Williams. They've got Matthew Stafford, who is a savvy vet. He's won a Super Bowl. He's been in some of these kind of games like this. It just felt like the Vikings couldn't quite get over the hump. And the Rams just kept plugging away and plugging away and plugging away. And we come down to the end of the game, and it's like, well, Rams are going to win this thing. And you get a nice punt from, they played all 3 phases well, and they down the punt at the 2. And then you get a face mask in the end zone that it's miserable. And I know Viking fans are not happy, and they shouldn't be, but I don't know that you were going to go down and score with like a minute left and no timeouts, that sort of thing. You'd go 98 yards, but you wanted that chance, right? And that would have been 15 free yards. Ball moves out to the 20-yard line ish, and you'd be in business. But I just think right now the Vikings are trying to overcome a lot. They've been hurt in a few areas. You see, they just made a trade today for a tackle from Jacksonville that I think is going to be a nice replacement for Darisaw, who went down in this game on a weird play. I don't know why Kevin O'Connell's handing the ball off at the end of the first half, but you lose your starting left tackle. They're trying to replace him. They're dealing with not having the quarterback they planned on coming into the season with, and Sam Darnold's been great, but it's just there's circumstance. On the other side of the ball, though, I think I could have been swayed before last week's show to pick the Rams if I'd have known that Puka and Kupp were going to be back. I didn't expect both of them to be back. I thought Kupp was a bit of a long shot, and I thought Nakua was a real long shot. Then they both played, and they both played really well. And we see what the Rams can be at full strength. And this is going to be a team that's going to have to be reckoned with by the NFC West. And nobody wants to see them as a wild card team, I promise you, if they're healthy.
Kupp didn't get a whole lot of touches, but every single one of them was just devastating to that Minnesota defense. And
first downs and moving
clutch.
The chain. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, we had some questions about Kupp and whether or not he was moving in mid-game, maybe not last week, but the week before. And quickly things settle,
Yeah. I thought he got nicked up again in this game, but he persevered.
Yeah. Well, either way, not necessarily surprising, I guess. And Minnesota has been. I mean, they're in a rough road right now. So
that's a season-saving win for the Rams. Like, last thought is that, because they were already talking about moving Cooper Kupp. Their season is saved now. They're 3-4 instead of 2-5. They're right in they're a half game out in the division. Like the NFC West is weird right now. So
Senior says, did seem like the Vikings thought they jumped out front and made that decision to cost a victory, and that cannot.
Yeah, that can get you. That's for sure. You can't coast the wins in the NFL for sure. Yep.
So we already kind of previewed it a little bit here, but Washington securing the W. Gary, fucking shame on you. And I get, I'm giving you shit. Obviously, I think that had you had a little more confidence in Jaden's position, you probably would have been comfortable with it. But
that was a big part of why I picked Chicago. I honestly thought that they would sit him out. I didn't like the reports early in the week that like
Right.
they were really taking it cautious with him. He didn't practice till Friday. So
Hey, and for those of you
usually,
guys watching, like usually Monday night, Tuesday morning, Tuesday night at the latest, I am sending the picks out to these
yeah,
guys, asking them to make their
yeah,
picks. So, you know,
right,
uh, we're not 100% up to date come Sunday morning or
right.
Thursday night or Monday night.
Yep.
So, yeah,
Yeah, and that was part of it. I also looked at it like, I'm still a little bit jaded as a Washington fan because it's hard for me to embrace just success because every time we've had
no,
success, we've shot ourselves in the foot.
I'm so
I'm getting
tired of
there.
your
I'm
image
getting there.
complex,
I'm
dog.
getting
It's
there.
fucking week 8's over,
I'm
dude. Like, I'm done with your image
I'm
complex.
getting there.
Okay, we're done.
I'm
You
getting
guys are
there.
doing great, and
But that Bears defense is tough, dude. That was another factor. Is like the Bears defense is really good. I
right.
legitimately thought this game was going to end with about the score that it ended with, like something around 20-16, something along those lines. Because the Bears defense is really good and Washington's defense has been playing good and Caleb Williams is not that guy. Like I know everybody's waiting and say, oh, they had really good games the last 2 weeks. Yeah, they played against JV squads the last 2 weeks. So I just
Yeah.
it was a weird situation. I just thought the Bears defense was going to potentially hold down a Marcus Mariota led offense. I just thought it was going to be that. I wasn't confident that Jaden was going to play. If I'd have known Jaden was playing, I
That's a
probably would have
clean
picked
pick.
Washington in a tight game.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
I do have a couple closing thoughts. I know we've talked about this game quite a bit, but I want to talk a little bit about the Bears and not Tyrique Stevenson. If they don't fix the offensive line in the offseason, they are going to waste Caleb Williams' career. He is under duress all the time, and they've got to understand that he's a guy that wants to hold the ball. He doesn't help his own line, and he probably never will. He is going to hold the ball, and they're going to have to go out and invest real capital in an offensive line, or they're going to have to ask him to play outside of who he is. They have 3 studs at wide receiver, and that offense is so fucking vanilla that they cannot get them open against a defensive backfield that's not great. Like Washington, they've been playing punching above their weight on defense. That's not a great defensive backfield, and they still couldn't get Rome Odunze, who I know is a rookie, so maybe we don't tag him with great yet, but I think he's going to be great. DJ Moore, who is great, and Keenan Allen, who is great, and they couldn't get anybody open. They didn't even target Cole Kmet. Like, that's a bad offense, and if they don't fix that offensive line, they are in big, big fucking trouble. And my last closing thought is Matt Eberflus has to go. His response in the post game after that fucking Hail Mary tells me everything I need to know about Matt Eberflus as a head coach. Do not hire him as a head coach once the Bears finally move on from him because he sucks. He sucks. He's clueless, and he just doesn't understand what the fuck he fucked up as a coach on Sunday. It was terrible. You're muted.
I was just laughing. Sorry. Damn. Just got flamed live. I don't know that my camera's in 4K, but you're in 1080p at minimum. But so Pats and snap a losing streak coming at the Jets at the cost of the Jets here and an L train for the team.
Yeah.
So this was another one that was kind of a nail biter. Obviously, came down to 6 seconds left on the clock and not enough time with Devontae not making it out of bounds. But, I think the Pats did a great job of clock management once they got that ball. It was going to be a nail biter, and I felt like we kind of assumed that it was going to be close, but this was definitely an entertaining noon game for sure. So if you were in on Red Zone, Scott Hansen's a fucking legend, dude. Like the way he managed all 4 of those games that were running at the same time, incredible. Hats off.
Yeah, for sure. Hats off to Jacoby Brissett for just being the eternal pro. He's just always ready to come in whenever he's needed. He's been a stopgap quarterback in a couple of different places. He was signed last year in Washington as a vet because they were going to try to see what Sam Howell was. He gets signed in New England this year to kind of be a vet, to kind of groom Drake May into a starting quarterback in the NFL. And he loses his starting job 2 weeks ago. And they need him in this game. And he leads the game-winning drive against the Jets defense that prior to the Saleh firing and what we expected it to be coming into this season should be a good defense. And they went right down the field, and hats off. Just eternal pro. On the other side of the ball, like, one, the Jets were fourth in like DVOA or whatever the metric is before Saleh was fired. They are 32nd since. It's like expected. Actually, I think it's like EYA or expected yards per play or whatever. But they are last in the NFL since Saleh was fired. So clearly, Aaron thought it was Saleh. It was not Saleh. It's still Aaron. It's always been Aaron. He's a problem. The whole embrace the darkness after the game was such a fucking clueless thing to say. Your coach came out and said, like, this is a dark moment. And Aaron Rodgers just says, oh, you got to embrace the darkness. I know the dark. The fuck you and your ayahuasca bullshit. Go fuck yourself. You are dragging a fucking team into the mud and just blaming everybody around you. Like, I don't know what's left for him to try to blame. Like, it's just fuck off. I'm over the Aaron Rodgers shit. He's one of the best to ever play the game, but goddamn, he's tarnishing his fucking legacy with this run with the Jets.
Yeah, he kind of gives me maybe Celtics Kyrie vibes. You know? It's just toxic.
Toxic as fuck, man. Toxic as fuck.
Yeah, the ego is insane. He's on his own little spiritual path that nobody fucking understands. And he's taking everybody down with him.
Yep.
What a shame. Including Devontae, which, goddamn, he could have went to a better team.
He wanted to go play with his boy.
I would have loved to see him in Houston.
He wanted to go to Vegas to play with Derek, and now he wanted to go back and play with Aaron. Like, it's a mess. It's a messy situation.
I would have loved to see him in Houston. Just saying. Yeah. Just saying. Yeah. Okay, on to Green Bay. Back on victory here for the team. And Jacksonville loses one, which, you know, predictably, look, Green Bay is stout. They are the NFC North right now is pretty stacked. If your shittiest team is Chicago, who really isn't that bad, all of them are above 500 on the season. I mean, this is the NFC division to watch.
Yep.
So Green Bay gets a dub. And now they're on to probably bigger and better things. What does this mean for Jacksonville? I mean, Jacksonville
it's over.
I mean, is it over for Peterson? Is it over for? Yeah. It's got to be, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the trade of Cam Robinson today is, I think, an indication of where Jacksonville thinks and knows they are. I don't know if they'll fire Doug midseason or if they're going to wait till the offseason. They may wait till week 12 or 13 or 15 or maybe even 18 to get a jump on the interview process, because you can't really interview folks until the end of the season anyway. So they might just keep them around until close to the end of the season and then do their thing. I think Peterson's gone. I wouldn't be surprised if they were in big time on a guy like Ben Johnson or something along those lines, but I think they're going to want to bring in another offensive guy that I think they're going to try to fix Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is kind of broken. But yeah, I mean, for a team that, you know, I really thought they were going to be a playoff team this year. I think a lot of people felt that way. God, it's been bad. And it's over. They just signed Trevor Lawrence, so obviously they're not going to clean house completely. They're going to go find themselves a GM. They're going to find themselves a head coach that's ready and willing to work with a guy like Trevor Lawrence and build around him and rebuild this thing back to 2022 when they did win the division and went to the playoffs.
So I don't want to associate the name that I'm about to mention with Jacksonville in particular, but I'm just thinking about teams that are going to be on the hunt.
Don't you fucking do it. Don't you fucking do it.
Okay. I'm not.
It's the reality though. Like he's gonna be a commodity. if you're talking about Cliff.
I mean, it's Trevor fucking Lawrence, dude.
I know.
Fuck.
I know. I don't want to lose Cliff. I think he's a great
If that's not his bread and butter,
planner.
I don't know what is.
I think he's a play caller. I want to keep him. That's all. Don't do that to me. I want to keep him. It's reality. Cliff Kingsbury, Ben Johnson, those guys. I think that's the vein that they're going to be looking, right? I think you're absolutely right. Yeah. That's the vein. Ben Johnson's going to be a hot commodity again this year because he was last year.
Here's a stray name just because I think, he's still a legend. We have to figure out where the fuck he will or if he will end up. But is Belichick coming back? Like, are we going to see him?
I think he would. If Jacksonville. So there is a connection too. Like he's connected to the Khan family. So it could be. I don't know who Bill Belichick is.
Jacksonville's not even the only team going to be on the hunt this season.
I don't know.
Dallas is probably going to be on the hunt this season. There's going to be a lot of teams on the hunt this season.
Yeah, I don't think Belichick goes to Dallas because he's going to want control, and Jerry's not going to cede control. So
where does he want money?
I don't know that he's going to be chasing money. He was making a lot of money in New England, but maybe I don't know. He could be. Everybody's got a price, right? But I could see Belichick going to Vegas now that Brady's out there too. If they're willing to move on from Antonio Pierce after one full season. But I could see Belichick, Jacksonville, they could probably be linked. There's a connection between him and the Khan family. And I think they would be able to give him control and let him be. But we'll see. I still think they're going to look at an offensive guy and try to bring someone in that's going to kind of fix Trevor Lawrence. Ooh.
Senior, I don't even know if we have enough episode for that.
How do you fix it? How? It's wild to me. Like that game.
I haven't heard a good answer.
That game yesterday was like that was Dak Prescott like in a nutshell because it was
a perfect microcosm.
Right, terrible early against a good team that we expect to be in the playoffs. Then the game's over. They're down by 3 touchdowns, and suddenly it's garbage time Dak, and he's up and down the field, right? And then they get the ball back, and you're like, well, shit, if Dak can keep it going, 4 straight fucking incompletions. Like, he tried to give the game away twice, too. Like, what the fuck? What goes into – I don't know what happens to him when the game means something. It just – he just – that switch flips in his head, and he's fucking Brucey from Longest Yard. Like, I don't know what the fuck.
Yeah, his so brain
bad,
just
I don't know how to fix it.
Ejectocito, cuz.
Dude, it's so bad. And I don't know what the fix is.
I don't think that there is a fix. That's the thing. So I haven't heard a good one. I haven't heard anything worth entertaining. So, and I've said this for at least 3 years, I feel like. It's not going to get better.
It's not.
So, we're just kidding ourselves at this point. We're not even on Dallas. We're not, just for the record. That was like one of the last games of the week. Fuck's sake. Yeah. I didn't initiate. I did initiate. Fuck. Anyways, so Tennessee, to no one's surprise, loses in Detroit. Winner for the team. And listen, Detroit is just kind of chug-a-lugging here.
Yeah. Tennessee was the number 1 defense coming into this game. Now, schedule, yada, yada, whatever you want to say. Detroit hung 50 points on an NFL team, right? Like, holy shit. And I know that there was, like, turnovers and there was, like, every fucking special teams play ended up on Tennessee's side of the ball. They cashed in a ton. That was unbelievable. That offense is ridiculous. They're just out there fucking drawing shit up in the sand for offensive linemen to catch passes from fucking. They might get a defensive back in there to throw a touchdown to an offensive lineman or something one of these times. It is fun to watch, and I wish Andy was here to talk about how fun it is to watch because he's a fucking fan. Yeah, Tennessee, it's bad there. Shout out to Joe Lawhorn. He sometimes to catch some of the show stuff. It's a tough time to be a Titans fan, but the Vols are looking fucking good, so he's got something to fall back on.
I texted him, when Tennessee beat Bama, and he was at Neyland
Yes, he was.
As the uprights are coming down, going down Broadway and into the goddamn river.
Yep.
See ya. Yeah, shout out Joe.
Yep. He's a beautiful man.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, finally get some overdue credit for them. But in the meantime, the Titans, yeah, just got brain.
It's a rebuild. It's a full rebuild.
For sure. Tear it down, rebuild it.
Yep.
Try again next year.
Yeah.
We're on to Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay was my dark horse, you know, and I felt like relative, you know, you never know what kind of Atlanta team you're going to get. But again, Kirk Cousins. And then, you know, I think it all came down to Baker trying to make magic happen, similar to what Dak was having to do in the last minute or so of the game. And, you know, it's a lot of pressure to put on him. And
when you don't have Mike Evans and Chris Godwin too, like it's tough. And you got to give Baker credit because they scored with Atlanta in this game. They were right in it.
He stayed in the game.
Honestly, with like Cade Otton having a career day and guys like Jalen McMillan and Bucky Irving looks like the real deal. Like if they could be healthy, that's a team that's to be reckoned with. I just don't know what the fuck happened on the defensive side of the ball for them. I know they've had some talent leave, like Carlton Davis is up in Detroit, and they've had some guys leave and a little bit of injuries, and the defensive line's been torn up a little bit, but it's bad. In Todd Bowles, I've stuck up for him a lot of times because I think he's been underappreciated as a defensive coach, but also as a head coach. He got stuck with that terrible Jets team that winning 5 games with that roster, he should have been coach of the year fucking 2 years in a row. But I don't know what happened to the defense. And Kirk Cousins has 8 touchdowns in a month against the Buccaneers. Now, he is the only person to have 8 touchdowns against one team in a month. I know it's rare to play the same team twice in a month, so take that for what it's worth. But he has torn this fucking defense up. But it hasn't just been him. They've been in shootouts every week, it seems like, this year. It's something, but Baker's acquitting himself very well, showing that he deserved that payday, showing that Cleveland fucked up by letting him out the door. Especially with a diminished roster this week, they could have easily just folded up shop and been like, oh, we don't have Mike, we don't have Chris, what else we got? Nope. He brought up guys like McMillan and Otton. Otton had a huge day on National Tight End Day, a couple touchdowns. You know, him and Pitts were kind of going back and forth, but it was a shootout. But Atlanta looks like they can win in a bunch of ways. They've played some real nip-tuck games. They've played some shootouts. This looks like a team that's going to be tough. I don't know that I call them Super Bowl contenders, but they're going to be a tough out come December and January, especially if they get a home game because they can fucking put some points on board.
Yeah, definitely a good matchup between two really stout teams, and I think, you know, really does kind of speak to some of the progress that we're seeing this year in Atlanta. And so they are quickly becoming the real deal. And so
Kyle Pitts is no longer on a milk carton.
Hey, you know, Kirk Cousins can bring out the best in a player.
Yeah.
We've seen it before.
Yep, for sure.
So there are many players that left Kirk Cousins and never recovered.
Yeah. No, he's always had tight ends that were productive too. I was just waiting for it with Pitts, and it didn't feel like it was coming.
That's totally true.
You look back at like a Hawkinson, a Jordan Reed, Vernon Davis had a career revival with Kirk Cousins. So he's had guys. He's had guys like OJ Howard even was successful with him up in Minnesota.
I didn't even think about that. Shit. Yep. I didn't even think about Vernon. Yeah, Vernon Davis.
Yeah, Vernon Davis in Washington. Like his years in Washington were productive, and people thought when he left San Francisco he was washed. But Kirk's always been a guy that can throw the ball to the tight end and doesn't mind working the middle of the field. So we're starting to see it with Pitts.
You're getting so much more modest in your praise for Kirk.
I do want to say Kyle Pitts should only have 1 touchdown. I don't know how we missed that on replay. He dropped the ball before the goal line. The ball was behind his leg. You can see it clearly on replay. The ball's behind his leg when the guy knocks it out. He's standing at the half-yard line. How did we fucking miss that? Now, I don't mind it because I have him in fantasy, and it's okay because I got fantasy points for it. But, like, how did we fuck that up?
Replay, it serves zero purpose. It really does.
So bad. So bad.
Really, really does. Arizona, this was the island. This was another island, back-to-back here. And felt good about this one just because obviously the Tua situation seems to be week in, week out. And Arizona's a complete misfire. They're either great or they're not, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
maybe we're at the point we just need to accept the fact that like Miami's just not a good team. Maybe. Arizona's scrappy. They're 4-4. They're in a tough NFC West. They're going to hang in there. They've surprised a couple of teams. They've almost surprised a couple of other teams. They're gonna be around when the game's on the line. And Kyler Murray came through and got him down the field to kick the game-winning field goal here against Miami. On the other side, like Tua looked fine, looks very rusty. I don't know if that was the biggest problem for their offense or not, but they really like leaned on the run game. Maybe they were protecting him. I know Tyreek Hill fantasy owners are like, come on, let's get Tyreek going, but it just wasn't there this weekend. Maybe we really are at the point that like maybe Miami's just a bad team. You're muted.
I'm curious to see where Cheetah goes next season.
He might be a guy that's demanding a trade, honestly, because he's a diva like that.
That's a valuable shelf life.
Right. I mean, he's 32, I think, and not getting any younger. He's been nicked up a little bit, lower body injuries. So
yep.
It'd be interesting to see if he tries to force his way out of Miami. Big old contract though, hard to trade, hard to move.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd love to see him just move on, take the sacrifice, and just go back to Kansas City where he belongs. It'll never happen, but I would appreciate it.
Yeah.
As a fan of the game.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how much guaranteed he's got left on his contract, but I'd be curious what the dead money is if they're able to move him. So.
And so now we are on to Cleveland. Look here, eating dubs, dude. First off, I can't ever say enough how much I love Jameis Winston.
He is a fucking national treasure.
The fucking best. Protect him.
Quoted Eminem after the game. Did you see his pregame interview? The cringiest fucking thing ever. But goddamn it, that's my Jameis.
That's my Jameson, dude. Ugh.
Golly, he's fucking balled out though.
He's the quarterback we deserve.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely, absolutely. Had a hell of a game.
The absolute weirdest fucking pregame.
Strange, dude. Strange. Oh, here's a fun stat for you though about Baltimore. It's a little bit inexplicable. I'm not really sure why, but they have outscored opponents by double digits in each of the first 3 quarters this season. The fourth quarter, they have been outscored by 95 to 58. They are
by almost double.
Terrible in the fourth quarter. It's unbelievable.
Finishing the job, maybe the gas tank?
They got the greatest finisher in the game. Just give them the goddamn ball. I'm telling you, I've said this on the show. I've said this to a lot of people. The Baltimore Ravens care much, much more about winning MVPs with Lamar Jackson than they do winning football games. It is unbelievable to me how many games they've lost because they just seem like they're so fixated on jacking up Lamar's stats that they'll go away from what should matter. They'll go away from what should get them wins. It's so ridiculous. And to be honest, in light of that, like nobody deserves to be outscored 95 to 58 in the fourth quarter more than the Baltimore fucking Ravens. I couldn't imagine being a Ravens fan this year. I couldn't imagine. I couldn't.
Yeah, for sure.
I wish Mike D'Angelo was tuning in this week. He's been on a few times chatting with us, but he's a Ravens fan, and I know he's getting fucking tortured every week.
James is haunting his dreams right now.
How much of an indictment on Deshaun Jackson was that game, though? Holy shit. They traded away Amari Cooper, and Cedric Tillman had a career day. Jameis Winston lit up the Baltimore defense with Cedric Tillman. Another volunteer, though. We got another mention of Tennessean.
It's the other UT.
Yeah, the other UT. Yeah, they struggled a lot last year blowing leads. I think it's like the last 12 weeks of football, they've like blown 8 double-digit leads or something crazy like that. It's wild. It's not good there in the fourth quarter with Baltimore.
It's really not. On to Houston, and listen, this is another nail biter. So Indy in Houston gets a dub, but I mean, this was a fucking nail biter. Thankfully, Anthony Richardson had to take a break because he was tired. So that may have cost him the game. Who knows? Maybe it didn't, but he was tired.
Yeah. So a couple of things out of this. Joe Flacco has been named the starter. I don't know if you caught that, but just this afternoon they announced that Anthony Richardson will be sitting down. Good decision. I know last year and the year before, I was talking with Stove quite a bit about Anthony Richardson, and I said, like, this is a guy that is going to fucking cost the GM his job. He's going to go to the combine. He's going to look really, really good, and they're going to fall in love with his tangibles because he is a fucking freak athlete, can throw the ball 75 yards in the air, runs a 4, I think he was like a 4.4 guy, and he's big, and he's strong, and he looks the part. He just can't play the position. He started 15 games in college and completed 54% of his passes and had like a fucking 12-7 TD to INT ratio. Ridiculous. That's not even the worst stat Anthony Richardson has, though. Of 225 qualified quarterbacks who have attempted 250 or more passes, only 3 quarterbacks have been worse than him in terms of completing passes. Tim Tebow, Mike McMahon, and Akili Smith, who is widely regarded as the greatest bust in the history of football. That's the conversation that Anthony Richardson is in. Unbelievable. If he never starts a game in Indianapolis again, it'll be the best decision they ever make. You're muted again.
We hope that you're listening down there at Lucas Oil. Take heed to the advice. Keep Flacco in the game, and maybe you'll have a chance. Houston, on the other hand, stays alive.
Yeah.
And they're on to bigger and better things as well. So Houston already kind of on a consistently good track, but, you know, still been kind of shaky the last couple weeks.
Yeah, it's been a little iffy here and there, and they just lost another wide receiver. Shout out Stephon Diggs. I give him a lot of shit on the show, but I never want to see somebody out for the season. Tore his ACL. Get well, rehab. He's going to be 32 coming off that injury. That's a tough time to have an ACL for a wide receiver, especially. Don't know where we'll see him after this. I saw somebody float the idea earlier in one of my group chats that maybe he goes to Dallas to play with his brother. We'll see. But tough there. But Houston just keeps chugging along. Good defense, good run game. Joe Mixon is as advertised as he was in Cincinnati. He's doing in Houston. And CJ Stroud continues to kind of shake off some of the sophomore funk that he had earlier in the year. So Houston, I think we're progressing toward Houston being a real tough out in January.
Yeah, they're definitely going to have to get it out of the mud, but they're going to be I mean, just based off of their schedule, I think they're going to be able to still lock it down.
Yeah. They'll get Nico Collins back too. It's a hammy. He'll eventually be back. I don't know how long, but they'll get him back, and that offense is different when he's in it.
No doubt. Definitely a standout year for Nico Collins up to this point. And the Chargers win at home, to no one's surprise here to the team as we continue our winner's trek. Any notables here for the Chargers win or the Saints loss?
Ladd McConkey had a big day, rookie wide receiver for the Chargers. The Chargers pass offense broke out a bit. They'd been kind of stuck in the mud. Jim Harbaugh's a run first, run second, run third coach. Seems like he kind of opened it up a little bit this weekend. Herbert and McConkey got on the same page. The Saints are bad. They're going to have to burn this thing down. I don't know why they signed Kamara to that extension they signed him to, but he's going to be around for the rebuild, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
It's ugly football
I don't know.
down there in New Orleans.
I didn't understand the Derek Carr move in general. So I mean, it just continues.
Yeah, they really should have been. They really should have been rebuilding the last 2 years. Now it's going to be even harder because they're in cap.
Yeah, tried to shortcut. Yeah, and they ended up just overextended the bank account.
Yep.
So another fight, and listen, that Seattle defense obviously being kind of notorious here, but DK Metcalf as a run defense guy, as a blocker, as a human being who gets to block and put hands on you, the defender. It's a fun thing to fucking watch, Gary. It really is.
Yeah. I mean, I know they missed him this weekend, so that was but Buffalo just they're fucking good, man. Like, I know I took a lot of flack to start the year. Buffalo's being my Super Bowl pick. I think everybody thought losing Diggs and not really having a lot to replace it. We're watching exactly what I said to start the season. Josh Allen is a rising tide. When you've got a guy that everybody in the locker room can point to and say, that's our guy, the defense plays better, the offensive line plays better, and he's starting to get production out of a rookie wide receiver in Keon Coleman that kind of flew under the radar. Khalil Shakir looks good. Amari Cooper looks good after the trade. But that defense has been a big surprise. And I'll point to that like with Washington as well, because Washington's defense has overachieved. When you've got a guy, he makes everybody else play up to his level, and that's what Josh Allen is. And I'm still fully on board. I think Buffalo 2024 is Buffalo's fucking year, man. I'm sticking to it. And
I mean,
God damn it, they're a good fucking football team.
That selection looks better and better every week. That's for damn sure. So Josh Allen is in stride. Hopefully he can keep that momentum up going into the second half of the season. Carolina is still a dumpster fire, and we were kind of looking at the tale of two shitty teams anyways. I was kind of surprised the Broncos didn't give this one away, but anything spectacular, anything remarkable here?
Bo Nix had a day, four total touchdowns. They scored with two tight ends that people probably didn't know their names. It was a good day for Denver. Obviously, Carolina is fucking bad. Don't look now, but like Denver's 5-3. I know they've played a pretty soft schedule, but they're 5-3, man. And like being 5-3 in the NFL is something.
That means something right now.
Bo Nix looks better as we go against worse competition. So I'll be really curious. Their schedule does start to tighten up here in the next month. I'll be curious to see how he plays as he grows within this offense. If we continue to see him progress, we've talked about it a lot. Once you figure out the quarterback position, everything else falls in place. They may not be a playoff team this year. They may not be a contender at all in terms of making any sort of run. But if you've got the quarterback position figured out, next offseason is so much easier, and you can just start to build around that quarterback.
Hundo peasy. And hopefully Bo Nix can stick it out and start to improve as he continues to battle those tougher teams later on in the season. Yeah. Cincinnati, listen, I thought I was going to be okay, especially at home here, but Philly brought some pain, and Cincinnati is another one of those teams. They're like a higher caliber Arizona where they seem to be kind of misfiring.
Yeah.
Where just things aren't kind of clicking right, and they're not able to get out there and execute against. I mean, I really thought that against Philly they would do okay.
Yeah. I this was a bit of a combination between like Philly hadn't been playing well and Cincy had been playing better. That defense sucks. That defense is not good. Philly ran it down their throats. They can't stop the run. For any AFC team that's looking at Cincinnati on their schedule, just figure out what fucking dive plays you're going to call, because that's a lot of what Philly was doing, was just dive plays with Saquon Barkley, and he was just crushing them. Jalen Hurts ended up fucking running for 3 touchdowns because he's the king of TD vultures now. Any Saquon Barkley fantasy owners are probably pissed off about Jalen Hurts stealing all those fucking touchdowns. But I'm starting to feel like this is a year that we can't just look at and say Cincinnati's going to turn this thing around. Defensively, they struggle a lot. They missed T. Higgins this weekend. It might be, right? They might need new spark plugs. It's something. It's not the same Cincinnati as we've seen the last 3 years where they can start the season off and just say, we'll spot you 3 weeks and we'll see you later. The offensive line is good, not great. They don't really protect Joe Burrow all that well. They're missing weapons. They missed Tyler Boyd quite a bit. But that defense
Senior, I think it's issues plural.
Yeah.
I mean, both sides of the ball. I mean, again, we knew going into the season, or at least we hoped going into the season, that Joe Burrow would have a little bit better protection, but instead we didn't get that. And we learned that pretty early on too. So, I mean, it's obviously the defense, I think, is the bigger problem right now, but because Joe Burrow and that offensive core with T. Higgins, of course, is capable of being high scoring and doing what they need to do to succeed. But that defense is absolute dog shit.
It's bad.
Real bad.
Real bad.
Speaking of real bad, Raiders, hopefully Tom Brady can influence some good positive things in that organization. But Kansas City, they're going to end up in another AFC championship, and they kind of just don't really deserve to be there.
Boy, it fucking feels that way, don't it? It's such a weird enigma.
They just kind of escape.
Mahomes might stink. They don't have any wide receivers, yet there's fucking 8-0. Like, what the fuck is going on? I know the defense is really good, and Mahomes seems to make plays late in games when it matters. He looked a little better this weekend. I will say this, though. He threw 2 touchdowns this weekend and is still negative in TDs at INTs. He has 8 touchdowns on the year, threw another pick this weekend, has 9 picks on the season. Travis Kelce had a breakout game. It was National Tight End Day. Very weird. 14 tight ends scored this weekend. So a lot of player props probably cashed all over the fucking place. It was National Tight End Day. 14 tight ends scored for a total of 16 touchdowns because Pitts and Otten both had 2. I don't know what to make of Kansas City, though, man. I really don't, because, Vegas had the ball with a chance to go tie it up late in this game, and Vegas is bad. But Kansas City is just a team that's just going to do enough to scrape by, and you're probably right. We'll see them in another AFC championship game, and if Buffalo can exercise their demons, they'll probably get to the Super Bowl, or it's just going to be Kansas City fucking three-peating because everybody treats them like the boogeyman or something. I just don't know.
Well, I think that Buffalo is the boogeyman this year. I think that's the whole thing. Hopefully. I think Kansas City may be on their way to breeze up to and I specified the AFC Championship for a reason, because I do think that they've met their match this year. I don't think they're going to be able to escape. And Cincinnati's no longer in the picture, so we're not dealing. There's the AFC, in my opinion, is looking at those 2 teams.
Yeah, so those 2, and then if Houston can put it all together at the end of the year.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, he had a good game. I just don't know if it's sustainable. He looks a step slow.
He's looked okay the last couple weeks. No,
it was kind of weird. We'll see. We'll see if he can keep it going.
He's slowly kind of getting back into the game. I feel like the last 2 or 3 weeks he's slowly kind of been stepping up.
Yeah,
but yeah, he's definitely been suffering from the fucking Swift syndrome. Yeah. Gary, I appreciate you falling on the sword here, but that was silly. There's no need for that.
What a stupid
national tight end day. Kittle, of course, out there, and Dak was trying to feed. When he wasn't trying to feed the San Francisco defense, he was trying to feed Fergie some, trying to feed him some tutties, and it just wasn't really connecting. So
yeah, what a stupid pick. I just felt like San Francisco was just punch drunk. I didn't think they were going to be able to recover with all the injuries.
Debo back in the game helps.
I underestimated how bad McCarthy and company is. They were so unprepared. They got an illegal formation on the opening kickoff. That's when I knew, like, we're in for a long night.
Yeah,
They
it's
got
a
a
wrap.
goddamn illegal formation on the opening fucking kickoff.
How does that even happen? I mean, this is the National Football League, and this is
Right.
the self-proclaimed God's team.
Fuck.
Fucking Bush League, you know? The Yankees, who claim to be America's team, are in the World Series. You know, there's some justification there, even, I would say.
We got a lead now, though. Good for them.
Good for them, I think. I hate both, you know. It's not even that I hate the towns. I don't hate the teams.
Sure.
You know, fuck California and fuck New York, but I do think I'm leaning towards the Dodgers just because the West, always.
Fair.
Anyways, oh yeah, so yeah, the Dallas Cowboys. Mike McCarthy does not deserve to be an NFL coach for the Dallas Cowboys. He doesn't. I understand that Jerry's going to do the respect of not terminating him this season, but there better be a fucking stout option when this season's over. When we miss out on the wild card and we're done after the regular season, I want there to be an option released the next day of, hey, this guy, after he wins the Super Bowl, is going to come be your coach. That's what I want to hear. It's not what I'm going to hear, though. We're going to hear
whatever next yes man is going to be joining Jerry in Jerry World. Might bring back Kellen Moore. Fucking Jerry, man. Jesus Christ.
fucking Ron Rivera is going to Dallas.
Oh, Jesus. That's worst case scenario, bro.
Why not, dude? Why not? I mean, Jerry fucking, you know? Fuck. Anyways.
Oh, fuck. Fucking Ron.
Schittsburg. Mr. Unlimited.
Mr. fucking Unlimited. I'll give him this. He looked better in the second half of this game. He looked bad last week, and everybody was glazing him for all the bad throws that ended up with PIs and George Pickens just being a fucking animal.
You know what's funny is I ignored the first half specifically because you said Russ is still dog shit. And so I was like, all right, I can sleep on this game. I'll watch the second half. And so I tuned in and I was like, what the fuck is he talking about? He's all right.
Fucking kind of cooked
a little bit.
Awful for fucking 30 minutes of that game. He was awful. He was better in the second half, though. I will give him that. He made a couple of like good throws. He made that dart throw into the end zone that got a touchdown.
Fantastic.
So if that's what you're going to get from Russ the rest of the year, Pittsburgh can win some games because it looks like they're going to potentially be able to score some points.
That's a big ass if.
I agree. The Giants are dead, though. The Giants are dead in the water. Yeah. Their role the rest of the way is spoiler. They're hosting Washington this week.
I hope not, senior.
Yeah, let's hope not, for sure. Yeah, Giants are bad. They'll be drafting a quarterback this year.
God, swindled. Absolutely swindled. Oh,
bamboozled.
Bamboozled. Oh man. Well, that wraps up the review of Week 8, and so we'll get to the most important part of our show. We're a veteran-owned and run and operated podcast. Myself and Gary being Navy veterans who served together, and we dedicate every episode of our podcast to a fallen service member. In our Folds of Honor sponsor segment, we call our Salute to Service. This episode is going to be dedicated to Army Staff Sergeant Paul A. Sweeney, who passed away October 30th, 2003, serving during Operation Enduring Freedom. He was 32 years old from Lakeville, Pennsylvania. He was assigned to 3rd Battalion, 3rd Special Forces Group, Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and he was killed in an ambush in Afghanistan. Army Staff Sergeant Paul A. Sweeney. We have the watch. And on to week 9. Not much of an update here on the seasonal record, by the way. I guess I didn't talk about that. Andy kind of creeping up here, gaining a game on me. Gary's still playing and picking teams. So there's that.
Yep.
And somehow I am failing upwards. So unified here, though, that the Jets are still dog shit, and the Houston Texans are going to kind of continue on their way through here, I would say.
Yeah, not a lot to this. Houston's just so much of a better team than the Jets. It's going to get bad. It's going to get worse before it gets better there. They're going to have to just tear the Band-Aid off this offseason and completely clean house.
100%. Speaking of bad teams, Miami might actually be a bad team, but one thing we know for certain, they're not going to stand a chance against who we both believe to be the Super Bowl champions this year.
Yeah, it's a divisional game, so you always kind of like, well, maybe, but I just right now with the direction that these two teams are going, like Buffalo's sky high, they just lost to Arizona at home. I don't think they're going to go on the road to Buffalo and upset the standings in the AFC East. Buffalo might clinch the division by fucking Thanksgiving, which is unbelievable.
Yeah, they might clinch. I was going to say week 12, they're going to clinch. Yeah.
It might.
Good.
They're fucking 3 games clear in the division in week 8.
Early.
Yeah.
Getting it early. And this is a division that we once all feared.
Right.
How the mighty have fallen.
Oh.
So unified here in Baltimore, even though, Baltimore can have their little moments. And Denver does seem to be on the up and up here. But Baltimore at home, come on.
Yeah, this wasn't a super easy pick because I don't know how much we can trust Baltimore. I think they're going to be able to run the ball against Denver, though. And I don't know that Denver's going to score the way they did against Carolina against this Baltimore defense. If it's a 10-point game in the fourth, though, fucking Denver might beat them.
I mean, apparently you can't write them off is what we're learning after last week. Fuck. Gary picking the Chargers here, not really surprised. I am surprised in Andy picking Cleveland. I'm kind of riding the Jameis wave just because I do believe that there's enough there. But to be honest with you, I still don't have 100% confidence in the Chargers, period. So, I'm always kind of iffy about that.
Chargers are a bit of an enigma. I think that they're starting to feel what their identity is going to be under Harbaugh, and I think we saw a little bit of that this past weekend. My big thing is like, I don't know that I can trust Jameis week to week. So give me Cleveland every other week, probably. So
there we go. Yeah, no, that checks out, dude. That dog hunts 100%.
Yeah, I mean he's the only 30-30 guy in league history. So he giveth and he taketh away. You do have Minnesota. I fucked this up. That's on me.
Oh. Well, unified. Minnesota.
Yeah, I fucked that up.
I think I did. I mean, I thought I did that. Oh.
I filled him in earlier. You pulled him onto the sheets. So that's on me.
I think I put mine in, is what I'm saying.
Oh,
I think
maybe.
I put my picks in. So I think I just missed Minnesota.
I tried to follow.
Not your fault. Just fucking dude. You're not even in New York and somehow acting Canadian as fuck. So just relax, bro. It's fine. It's on me. All good. We shall move on. We're on to Minnesota as we're unified here. That Flacco is great, but Minnesota is still better. Period. At home.
Yeah, I'll be entirely honest. I don't feel as confident in this pick after finding out
because Flacco is
not starting. But I'm going to stick with it. I think Minnesota is going to be able to score against this Indy defense. I do think Flacco is going to be able to score with them. I wouldn't be surprised if this was a bit of a shootout. If we get into like the low 50s, maybe like a 20, 27, 24 type game, 28, 25, something like that. I wouldn't be surprised by that for this game, Indy and Minnesota.
100%. 100% could be a shootout. Some not great defenses, and definitely some potential for some gunslinging.
Yep.
So, New Orleans going to get a chance here to catch some reprieve here as they're playing Carolina. They're well-deserved break. Hopefully they can get it together here. Now, if they lose, because I've thought about it,
Dennis Allen might not get on the plane back to New Orleans if they lose to Carolina.
I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. That's all I'm saying. I didn't waffle on it when I made the pick, but since we've had the episode and we reviewed last week, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember. Oh yeah, they did, didn't they? So
yeah. So Derek Carr is back. Take that for whatever you think it's worth. But yeah, if they lose this game to Carolina, like I'm not nearly as confident in a pick against Carolina as I should be because it's Carolina. But I mean, I can't pick Carolina against really anyone. But man, if New Orleans loses, Dennis Allen might be fired by fucking Sunday night.
Yeah. And deservedly so, I would say. I think at that point.
Very up and down. Very up and down.
100%. Very, very
91 points out the gate, and they've been dog shit since.
And speaking of reprieve, Cincinnati going to get a chance here to get some reprieve here against the Raiders. And listen, I wouldn't say that this isn't necessarily in the bag either, because Cincinnati is kind of, they're back against the wall here. They've got some adjustments that they've really got to start making here. And I mean, outside of the additional help that we talked about on the offense and then that defense really kind of needing to get together, are we going to see, is T. Higgins out for a while or is he back soon?
Nah, I think he'll play this week. It's one of those things that could be nagging, but I think he'll play this week. This better be a reprieve game for Cincy, or their season really might be over. If they struggle and scrape by against the Raiders, you really want to win this game comfortably at home against a bad team. We'll see. We'll see how we're feeling about Cincy after Sunday.
Yeah, I just feel like my confidence is waning.
Yeah. Yep.
And confidence continuing on the rise here as Enron stocks are falling in New York. New York is going to lose at home, and they're going to get their ass beat to a divisional foe here, is what's going to happen. It's going to be good.
Yeah, the only thing that worries me is the Giants always seem to play us tough. I don't know what it is. I mean, the 7 field goal game from earlier this year. It's in the Meadowlands too. Well, MetLife now. I'm confident in the pick. I just don't know that it's going to be any sort of like ass whooping. I could see a 20-16 type of game. Like, it's just the Giants are weird, man. They're like our kryptonite. They always have been. Even in the years where we've had a little flash in the pan, the Giants seem to sweep us. It's not. It's just something about it. They're a fucking hex.
35-13, I think is the number that's coming to my brain. 35-13.
I hope so.
I mean, it's going to be a fucking blowout, dude.
I'd love to.
I mean, I think they're going to murder them
once. Just one time.
I think they're going to beat the dog shit out of them.
I would love to.
Yeah, you heard it here first. 35-13. They're going to beat the shit out of them.
I like it.
And listen, this is not going to be a fight here. Atlanta at home against in Dallas, and this is not going to be a blowout. I think that this is going to be probably a bigger fight than Dallas is prepared for, which is why I chose Atlanta, obviously. But I think Atlanta has the edge in more than one way. In the coaching, in the quarterback department, in the running back department, in the receiver. I mean, we can keep going. The receiver department is questionable, I guess. But outside of that, they're firing on a lot more cylinders than I think Dallas is kind of winding down.
We could see this be a little bit of a shootout, though. Atlanta's defense has been prone to some kind of checkout moments in games. I don't think Dallas is going to get blown out, though. I agree with you.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see it happening. New England gonna take the win train on to Tennessee, and this could be another one where it could go another way. Tennessee has always been kind of one of those upset teams, and this is one of those. Like, they won a game. All right, so that does that doesn't mean that we have full confidence in the Pats yet, right? So
No. I mean, this is one of those ones that this is much more about where the Titans are for me than it is
right,
about like my confidence in the Patriots. I could easily see the Titans win this one fucking like 13-10 or 13-11. Like give me a weird score, 12-11. Let's do that. Let's get 11-9. Let's do that. Um it's honestly,
ouch.
it just could be a very weird game. It's two teams that aren't really on the upswing. New England got a nice win against the Jets, but beating the Jets isn't really a thing to write home to mom about. But I'm with the Patriots on it. I think they got a little momentum coming out of that potentially. I think we'll have Drake May back, and boy, the Titans got the brakes beat off of them this past week. So
Yeah,
11-9 Patriots. Let's do it.
11-9 Patriots. I love that. That's so good. I would absolutely die if that hit. Arizona at home against Chicago, and this one I waffled on hard.
I'm with it.
Waffled hard.
I bet Andy
and
did too. If Andy was here, I'd bet you he'd say he waffled too. It's two tight teams.
yeah, they're close.
I understand going
Equally
to home
matched.
team. I just think the Bears defense is the difference in this game. That's the big thing for me is I
Yeah,
think Chicago scores just enough, maybe like a 16-point game from Chicago with a few field goals and a touchdown. And I think Arizona struggles to get past like 13. So 16-13, probably, something like that.
like that. Like that. I'm gonna have to start recording these so we can see how many of these actually hit.
Right.
That's a good season record to hold on to.
Yeah.
Detroit, and you're picking Green Bay here.
I instantly regretted this pick when I remembered that Jordan Love is injured. I don't know if he's going to play. Malik Willis is fine. I'm going to stick with my pick, but I'm an idiot. Detroit's going to win this game. But here are the reasons Green Bay is going to win. Josh Jacobs is going to run for a lot. Malik Willis is going to move the ball with his feet. And the Green Bay defense is actually quite good. So maybe they can hold Detroit under 30. 27-24 Green Bay.
27-24 Green Bay in Lambeau. That sounds like a hell of a game to attend.
Yeah. Sure. And Jordan Love might play. He's a long shot, but
yeah, I think he was still questionable, right?
Willis was fine in relief.
I don't think he's going to be enough to beat him, but yeah, if Jordan Love was in, I don't know that I would have made it as confident of a pick. Listen, the Legion of Boom, the home of the 12th man, used to be a place that people feared, and the Rams are on the up and up. Okay, and so Cup is still around. I don't see a scenario where there's some kind of magic in Seattle, but then again, it's really going to be more, is LA going to be consistently firing on all the cylinders that they need to, because they're going to be the ones to lose the game more than Seattle wins, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'll tell you a name to watch this weekend, and it's not necessarily a surprise name, but Kyron Williams. The Bills and James Cook just bullied the Seattle Seahawks defense. James Cook was just running dudes over, trucking them, knocking their helmets off. And Kyron Williams is a guy who can do some of that stuff, but he's a guy that can kind of get into creases and disappear on you. I wouldn't be surprised if Kyron Williams had a big day, a couple touchdowns, maybe 120, 125 yards against the Seattle defense. And of course, you mentioned it, Kupp, Nakua, them being back helps a lot. The Rams might win this comfortably, man.
Yeah, that defense is a shell of who they used to be.
Yeah.
All right, on to Philly and Jacksonville. I mean, again, kind of on the verge of really needing to be in some type of rebuild or recoaching mode. and Philly should have a comfortable win, I think, with Jacksonville. Sure, they could upset some things though, but Philly does seem to be on a good, solid pace.
Yeah, my worry with Jacksonville is that the writing's on the wall and they're going to check out. Trading Cam Robinson was a big deal. That's your cornerstone tackle. Um, they could check out, and this could be a real bad finish to the season for them. Starting
Yeah,
with Philly.
yeah. Well,
Which sucks.
we talked.
Because I need Philly to start losing some fucking games. They're only a game back. Fuckers.
I need to look at the rest of their schedule, but I'm hoping that they're getting their due soon because again, they're just going to kind of sneak their way into a wild card spot, and
their
schedule
then they're going to start tougher. But
yeah,
I mean, they're fucking a half game back, not even a full game. They're only a half game fucking back. So
yeah,
but
yeah,
they've got some divisional games coming up, and then the Bengals were supposed to be kind of the start of the tough stretch, but divisional games coming up. They've got the Ravens, they've got the Rams, the Steelers, and then all their divisional games. So their schedule gets a little tougher.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see how they make it through there. But I expect Washington to still secure that division. I don't think that's far-fetched. And then Kansas City, of course, they're going to breeze their way through here. And then I say breeze, we've all selected Kansas City to win. But again, Tampa Bay is a team that you actually cannot count out. And so
yeah,
this one could be a good one to watch. Reminiscent of the OU Texas Tech days. This could be good. It's always fun watching these two guys match up.
Yeah, if anybody's gonna put a scare into this Kansas City defense, it's Swaggy B. It doesn't matter what weapons there are on offense, clearly, as we saw this past weekend. It's just going to be a matter of whether or not this Tampa Bay defense can get enough stops for this team to win. I don't know that I have that confidence. We could see Patrick Mahomes look like the old Patrick Mahomes this weekend against a defense that's really bad. So this could be a bit of a shootout, one of those old school Kansas City games where it's 38-35 because Mahomes had the ball last or something along those lines. But Tampa Bay's they're not going to be scared. Baker's not scared of anybody. So they're going to be out there. They'll move the ball. I'm confident. We'll see what Kansas City's made of this weekend.
They're going to be slinging for sure. And in the meantime, Pittsburgh and San Francisco are going to get some rest. Tomlin going to find a way to secure a divisional wild card probably. And, San Francisco probably going to get some much needed rest because that team got fucking banged up.
One big note for San Francisco is fucking Deebo Samuel can finally heal up from the pneumonia. He was playing this weekend and literally going over and sucking oxygen like every other play. 2, Jordan Mason's banged up. But also, even if Jordan Mason is still out, man, that'd be ridiculous.
Hell yeah, it would.
Yeah. But Christian McCaffrey might come back in week 10. So the bye week comes at a good time for them that they might get healthy. There is some speculation that CMC might be back after the bye. And then we might start to see San Francisco be the team that everybody thought was going to make another run at the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think they just have to kind of bide their time. Definitely it's a really good timed bye week for them.
Yeah, health's going to be such a big difference maker for them.
Definitely. Well, Gary, got through it all. Any closing thoughts?
We're about at the halfway point, man. The way the 18-week schedule now works out, it's no longer like between 8 and 9. Next week will be the halfway point of the season. Some teams still have their buys coming, but it's starting to be moving season, man. We're starting to really feel what divisions are going to have races and which ones shouldn't. AFC East, looking at you. Considering Buffalo might be eating turkey might be clinching a division over turkey at Thanksgiving time. But this is a fun time of the year because you know what you know about teams now. We always talk about it the first kind of month of the season. You don't really know what you don't know about teams. And now it's a matter of like which teams can separate from the pack and start to really put their fingerprints on a good season here. And I'm staring right down the barrel of it with Washington. As I mentioned, New York always plays us tough. This is one of those games that kind of separates, like, this is a game that in past years, past regimes, we'd go and we'd dump a fucking game against an inferior divisional foe. I'm hoping that that's not the case this year, and we can start to really push and start to feel like, man, we got something going here.
Yeah, definitely. I understand that we're still divisional rivals or whatever, but I'm definitely excited to watch and see what Washington can do this year because Jaden Daniels is an absolute fucking he's just a blast to watch. I was a big fan of Scary Terry last year, so just watching this team come together is fucking awesome. So I'd like to see him go all the way.
Seeing how much Terry's smiling too is fucking
man.
He's having fun.
Enjoying the game.
He's having
Damn
fun.
It. Love it. Well, from all of us here at Backyard Sports, we appreciate you guys tuning in. Be sure to check out our other shows. If you're into baseball, we have the Rosenbagger Show. If you're into college football, we have the Tailgate Trash Talk. And if you're into NBA, please sure to check out Backyard Buckets. So the family of podcasts here. We appreciate you guys tuning in as always. We'll be back next Tuesday night when we will debrief week 9 and get ready into week 10. So my name is Raul Herrera. Got Gary Freeze with me. Appreciate you guys tuning in, and we'll see you next week.